I have had a lot of people use knives on me. I feel extremely fortunate to be alive. Legally law-abiding citizens may carry about a 3-inch knife. The size you carry depends on the laws of your city and state. There are also some federal laws that govern knives. The knives used against me were usually either switchblades or large butcher knives. Did you ever see that Crocodile Dundee movie where some guy is robbing Crocodile Dundee? The robber pulls out a small switchblade and says something to the effect of, "I am robbing you." Crocodile Dundee pulls out a large knife. It is probably a foot long. In doing so, he says, "That's not a knife. This is what a real knife looks like." The kind of knife that you could legally carry on the street looks quite pale to the weapons the criminals carry. Some times ago, I got one of those deals in the mail where a company sent me self-defense videos. I got a video every couple of months. I thought some of the tactics mentioned in the videos were ridiculous. I kept getting them until I got a movie about knife fighting. In the video, two so-called experts were standing toe-to-toe fighting it out. In one sequence, there was the good guy using his knife to slash the bad guy. This happened while the bad guy beat him with a lead pipe. This is ridiculous. If a bad guy has a knife or a lead pipe, you cannot stand toe-to-toe with your little knife and come out unscathed. The only way fighting with a knife works is in videos when someone is hacking away at a piece of raw meat. In real life, it would take you a long time to kill someone with your little pocket knife. In the meantime, they would either beat you to death or slash you with their own knife. This is a no-win situation. I have noticed people carrying knives in their pockets with a clip attached to their front pocket. This is not a smart way to carry a knife for self-defense. You are advertising to criminals where your knife is. I have seen criminals snatch away items like this from people. You should never advertise having a weapon on you. If you are carrying a knife, you should carry it inside your pants pocket where no one knows you have it. If someone attacked me, I would stand in such a manner so they could not see me pulling it out of my pocket. I would flip open the knife, then when they get close enough, I would slash or stab them. You cannot advertise what you're doing with the knife because the bad guy has to come very close to you for it to be effective. You are not in some kind of West Side Story knife fighting with people. Criminals in prison and on the street train extensively with knives. This has been one of their major weapons for many years. They practice how to use knives and how to take knives away from other criminals. You will not take a course on knife fighting and be anywhere near comparable to these people in fighting. Also ask yourself, how effective do you think your knife would be against 2 or more criminals? Even if 2 or more criminals have no weapons, you still cannot effectively defend yourself. You could easily find that they have taken away your knife from you and used it on you. In summary, as much as we do not want to kill people, the best weapon for defense is a firearm. In this segment, I wanted to spend a little time to talk about knives that I've seen on the street and what people are teaching in self-defense. I have this Spyderco 3-inch knife. It's legal where I live. I carried it in my pocket for quite a few years. Anybody that wants to be legal, they carry something similar to this. And what I've seen in self-defense people training is that there's this one guy, and he does a little thing where he's the good guy. There's a bad guy approaches him. He pulls his knife out and goes like this, and the bad guy goes running off. I've seen him do this a couple of different times. I saw another self-defense trainer, and his scenario was standing toe-to-toe. He was the good guy. He had a partner pretending he was a bad guy, and they're both standing toe-to-toe, slashing each other with a knife. And another self-defense trainer I saw, he's pretending he's the good guy with a knife. His training partner has a lead pipe. The good guy's slashing like this. The bad guy is bashing away on him with the lead pipe, and they're training people like this, you can really do this on the street, and that's all a bunch of baloney, because if you're standing toe to toe, even with if your bad guy has a little knife like this and you're slashing each other up, even if you cut the bad guy, you're going to be cut up so bad you're probably going to die anyway. And if somebody's bashing away on you with a lead pipe, you're going to have some serious broken bones. So they're totally unrealistic, and I really don't think these people training this have ever been in a bad situation. The kind of knives that I was attacked on the street with was, a lot of time people would walk up and at the very last second they might be smiling. They would pop open a switchblade knife, put it on my throat, against my chest. Sometimes I'd see like these real cheap little plastic steak knives that people would maybe cut their steak at dinner for, if we were in a poor neighborhood, so people had cheap utensils. It had like a plastic little handle and maybe say a 6-9 inch blade on it, and a lot of times I'll show you the actual sizes of knives that people produced on me to rob me, and I'll use my Spyderco in comparison. I would see knives that were like this size, about this size, and like this. And if people were carrying big knives like this, a lot of times they might bring them, catch them from home, or they may get them from a burglary or someplace like that. So sometimes they couldn't afford a sheath, or it didn't come with a sheath, so they might take some newspaper, wrap it around the knife, put some Scotch tape around the knife, and that was their sheath. And they would carry it down in their pants like this and yank it out. Or I saw people who would put it inside the sock on their feet and walk around like this, and of course they'd have the sheath on it to protect them. And like I say, for years I carried a knife like this, and I started realizing, well, I got this dinky little knife, and these guys have really big knives, and I'm really not going to get into a knife fight. So I started looking at what would be a lot better for me, and what I decided, instead of having this little knife, is it's a lot smarter if you have even like a little mouse gun. If you can look at the comparison on size of these, you're not having that much more size in your pocket, but the mouse gun has 7 shots, and you're not getting up real close and personal, slashing away on people. Now, if you're in a position where you say, well, I really have to have a knife for some reason, then I'd like to explain how I would use a knife. And I see a lot of people, most of these kind of knives, they come with a little clip on it, and I see a lot of guys walking around and they got it hanging out of their pants pocket, clipped right here, so anybody in the world can see they got a knife. And convicts and criminals in general, they practice a lot with knives, and they practice for 2 things. And one thing is, of course, they practice how to stick people with a knife and slash you. And a second thing they practice for is how to take the knife away from you. So if I was actually going to use a knife in a fight, what I would do is I would have it in my pocket like this, and if someone was coming to attack me, what I would do is I'd say, hey buddy, you know, it's okay, I'd be backing up, and at the same time I would be opening it out of sight like this, and then I would stick the guy or slash the guy. And how that would look on this side is I would be going like this, I'd ease it out of my pocket, open it like this, and then slash the guy or stick him like this. And that's the only way you can do it. You can't really pull a knife out and intimidate a criminal with it. You have to use a surprise on them. And it's just, I'm just totally against knives after I've seen them used, and I know what the opposition can do with knives. So I hope this little segment helps you if you're carrying a knife or you're thinking about carrying a knife to kind of realize the situation and give you some alternatives.